Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Becoming You podcast. Today's episode, we're going to be focusing on cultivating an abundant mindset around money. And this topic was inspired by a question that I received on Instagram by one of my followers. And I'm loosely basing the content of this podcast on what her question was. So before we get started, let's define what does it mean for an abundant mindset versus a lack mindset. An abundant mindset is basically where you believe there's more than enough, right, of whatever it is, resources that you desire. So it could be an abundance of opportunities, it could be an abundance of love, and abundance means different things to different people. So I'll tell you what abundance means to me. It's an overflow, right? Like no matter how much you take, there's always more than enough. And there's this assurance of there's always more than enough. That's what to me is an abundant mindset. So there is a give and a take. So you don't have to worry about the taking because you know that there's always more coming in. And even if there isn't more coming in, there is this belief that even if it's invisible to your eyes, that there's always more coming in and there is plenty available right now in the moment. And a lack mindset is typically the mindset that most of us tend to have around money. For me, I'd never really heard of having an abundant mindset around money until I started my personal growth journey. And it was such a mindset shift. I was like, what? Like, you can really think that way? So I used to have a very severe lack mindset around money, which is, I should be saving all my money for a rainy day. There's nothing wrong with that. We'll dig a little bit deeper in that. But it's this idea of, when when the money leaves your bank account, there is some tension that occurs inside of your body. It's an uncomfortable feeling, right? This idea of like, oh, if that goes out, how are we going to replace it? Or when is the money going to come in? Where am I going to find it? Will there be enough? Am I overspending? Gosh, like what will others, say when they look at my spending, right? So that is a lack mindset. And I definitely used to live in that world of constantly worrying about money. Even if I wasn't overtly thinking about money, on some level, I probably was thinking about money. And a lot of us grow up with a lack mindset around money because, well, first of all, money is a made up thing. It's not something that's natural, right? It's man-made. So it's a learned behavior. We learn how to feel about money based on our environment growing up, what people around us taught us about money. And also we were taught how to think about people with money or without money. All of this was a learned behavior. And unfortunately, most of us do pick up a lack mindset. And especially if you grew up in Asia, money is a sign of prestige. And people want a lot of it so that they can communicate this perception that you are really wealthy. And with wealth comes power. With wealth, you have access to good education, good healthcare. Like money really does mean life and death in like Asia where I grew up, right? Like at least here in the US, you have access to free education, like public education up to grade 12. It's free, right? And in India, yes, we have government institutions, but they are so under-resourced. Like my kids go to a public school here in the US, and it's phenomenal. Like it is phenomenal. So, you really can't compare the type of resources that's available with public funding in India versus like the US. So in India, this is idea that I grew up with that money is power. Money is basically life and death, right? And I have been on both sides of the coin where we've had like no money, right? I remember my parents worrying about how we're going to cover the bills next month to now living a really comfortable lifestyle. But like any mindset, the impression or the experiences that you have in the beginning of your life, the beginning stages of your life, really set the foundation for the rest of your life. and that becomes your money blueprint. You can absolutely change it, but it requires a lot of intention and awareness and active internal work to change it to an abundant mindset. So I'm a living example of somebody who used to have an extremely severe lack mindset around money to now having an abundant mindset. Now, do I have the perfect mindset around money? No, I don't think anyone really does. I think as long as you live, you'll always have work to do around certain areas of your life, and for me, that is money. But I talk a lot about having an abundant mindset when it comes to money, because remember, what you believe becomes your reality. So if you always believe that there isn't enough money to go around, that money needs to be saved and saved and saved, scrimped and saved, and that you shouldn't really spend too much on enjoying yourself or spend on luxurious things because that's bad, money making decision, things like that, you really live in fear of money. And ultimately, with the lack mindset, thoughts of money are controlling your every move, right? Maybe not your every move, but a lot of the decisions you make in life are made because of the fear of money and the control that money has over you. Whereas in an abundant mindset, you still make sound decisions, but you don't allow the current evidence of the lack of money to decide your future or your current decisions. And the one thing I want to, this is kind of a side note, and I want to say it while I remember it, is that wealthy people, rich people, can have a lack mindset. So, an abundant mindset and a lack mindset has really nothing to do with the amount of money that you have, you've saved, you've invested. It has nothing to do with whether you're rich or poor. An extremely poor person, poor in terms of finances, can have an abundant mindset, and an extremely wealthy person can have a lack mindset, right? You might be wondering, well, how is that? They have so much money. How can they be living in lack? Remember, the lack and the abundance is really a mindset. It has nothing to do with the physical manifestation of your life. So if you're having lack and scarce thoughts about money, you could still be wealthy, right? A wealthy person could be really worried about the stock market crashing and then potentially losing all the money and always worrying about, making more money. So I actually heard this story. I was listening to an Audible book the other day, and the author gives an example of a man who was talking to his financial advisor, and he had like $5 million saved in assets, right? Saved and invested in assets. But with 5 million, he still didn't feel safe. He said, for retirement, I really feel like I need like 10 million or 15 million or whatever, right? And so him and the financial advisor created a plan. And within like, I don't know, 15 years or 20 years or 7 years of the plan, I don't know the exact numbers. Like he hit that $15 million goal, right? So he now had $15 million worth of assets. But after he hit the 15 million, he didn't feel safe. And the only way he could feel safe was if he like turned all of those assets into cash and put it all into savings, right? Because he was scared. He was scared that his investments would crash or they would lose value. So he told his financial advisor that the only way that I can grow my money is if I pull all of these assets and turn it into liquid cash. So by then it probably wasn't worth 15 million, right? But that's what felt safe to him. So he did that. And I use this example to explain to you that you can be an extremely wealthy person, but you can still have a lack mindset. And a poor person could, find $10 on the road and feel extremely abundant and grateful and trust that, hey, look, I made $10 today, and feel like $1 million, right? With the $10 that they have. And a person with $1 million can feel and act and live their life as though they just have $10 in the bank account. That's what I mean by a lack mindset and an abundant mindset. All right. So let's get into the question that this person asked. They said, I know you've mentioned to spend with a mindset of abundance than lack. But when we do this, could we end up wasting money? And I know that was such a great question. So I think what this person understands when I say an abundant mindset is not necessarily a wasteful, not a wasteful habit, right? I think from what I can gather in this question, this person understands an abundant mindset to be spend money on whatever you desire, right? That is not what I mean by an abundant mindset. So, an abundant person with a healthy relationship with money knows exactly what is in their assets and liabilities as far as their personal money goes, right? Like, you know what is currently approximately in your checkings account, in your savings account. You know how much on average your monthly income is and what your expenses are. And you are conscious when it comes to spending money. So let's take an example, right? So, and compare it to what an abundant mindset person would do versus a lack mindset person would do. So, in the past, right, I have always, when I've gone shopping, gone to the back of the store to the sale rack and always bought things off the sale rack, right? One, because I feel like that's a better thing to do. Two, I worry about the amount of money I'm spending on clothes and I've been shamed for it before. So there's fear around that. And then three, this feeling of like I'm only worth things that are on sale and I shouldn't be buying things full price, right? Because there's something about wasting money of because you're buying things on full price. That's what a person with a lack mindset would do and worry about, can I spend this? Should I spend this? Etc. Whereas a person with an abundant mindset would walk into the store knowing, let's say there's a very like an intention for their shopping experience, right? They're not just going to buy clothes because, I don't know, they're feeling insecure, they've had a bad day. It's not retail therapy, right? Like this person knows who he or she is and they've seen an item of clothing that has wowed them. They're like, whoa, this is so beautiful, right? And it's full price. Let's say it's like a $180 pair of leggings, right? And the abundant mindset person would ask them certain questions, would be things like, one would be, do I want this for the sake of wanting it, or do I really desire it? Like, is it calling to me? Does it feel aligned, right? So you're buying it with intention. If that person already had like 7, let's say, black leggings and they're buying an 8th one, then obviously that's an issue. But if this person feels these leggings will bring a lot of joy to my life and it's something I don't already have, and they would buy it, right? And then the $180 price tag would really be about, I love it. I'm going to get a lot of quality use out of it, and it's going to make me feel amazing. And I know that money is always supporting me, right? I feel good about spending this money on myself and this incredibly beautiful item. And I know that there's always more money coming in, right? It's that kind of attitude and perception. I know there is always more money coming in. That's an abundant mindset. Even if you don't have, like, even if you're not working, right? But maybe your spouse does. That is the feeling of like, even, how do I say this? So when you have an abundant mindset, money always manages to show up in your life some way, somehow. It's crazy. And I've had this happen to me in so many ways. And an abundant mindset also recognizes that money doesn't always have to flow through your life through cash. Okay. Yes, cash is great, but let's say money can flow through your life by other people buying you gifts or gifting you money, or you might get refunds, right, for things. So let me give you some examples of how money has flowed into our life effortlessly in the last month. We got a massive, not a massive, we got like a 40% refund on a plane ticket we bought because I canceled one leg of the trip, right? And you might say like, well, but that was money that was owed to you. Yes, that was money owed to us, but the beautiful fact that the company refunded it without any question or any struggle, and money just flowed back easily into my life, makes me feel abundant. And it's further confirmation that money is always flowing into my life. So let me give you a non-monetary example. It's a really small thing, but my kid and I went to like one of those jumping places like Sky Zone here, and my son really wanted a snack. And I'm not a mean mom, right? Like, I don't deprive my kids of food, but it's starting to become a habit for him where anytime I feel like the only reason he goes to this jump place is so that he can get all the junk food, like all the chips and the churros and the ices and the Sprites and things like that, because we don't have any of that stuff at home. So when we go out and we take our kids out somewhere, like sometimes they ask us, sometimes we say yes, sometimes we say no, depending on, how much junk we feel they've been eating recently. So we were at this jump place and he's like, can I go get a bag of chips? Can I go get like an icy? And, I kept saying no. I was like, nope, we're here to jump. That's what you wanted to come here for. We're not going to get anything else. And so we were done. He was disappointed, but he had a great time. And we were about to leave, and he sees this spin the wheel thing. They had some member event that night. And he spun the wheel when none of the people that worked at the place were watching, right? He just wanted to do it for fun. And it landed on churros. Like he got free churros basically. And he was so happy. And I was like, wait, but no one actually saw us do it, so it probably doesn't count. So I flagged somebody who was working there. And I said, how does this spin the wheel thing work? And he goes, oh, you just have to, your son just has to spin it. And whatever it lands on, he gets that, right? And there was like 16 options of things, small things. So he spins the wheel again. So initially, remember, it stopped on churros, and because nobody was watching, we knew we couldn't ask for that. So he spun it a second time when somebody was watching, and now it landed on a muffin. And he was like, yeah, all right, I'll take a muffin. And so the guy who works there says, oh, I'm sorry, we're all out of muffins, but since you said that it landed on churro the last time, would you like some churros? And he was like, okay, fine. So we go over to the food place. And then he starts to pick up the churros, and he goes, actually, you know what? These churros are really old. They might be stale. How about a bag of chips instead? And my son ended up getting a bag of barbecue chips, which is what he wanted from the beginning anyway. And I was just like, oh my gosh, the universe is just an incredible way of bringing you the things you desire. So and I know this is a long-winded way of making this point, but that was probably like $1.50 or $2 for the bag of chips. We got that for free, and that flowed into our life. That $2 value flowed into our life for free, right? And it is our job to recognize abundance everywhere. So we thank the universe, and I've instilled this habit with my kids that the universe always gives us the things that we want if we ask for it, and we are patient and trust that it will always show up. And once they get it, receive it, or manifest it in the most miraculous, magical way, I tell them, like, see, like the universe actually delivered what you wanted. So now we have to be grateful for it. So I'm working on them to help connect the dots in their brain so that they're always, not working, but always manifesting the things that they desire. So that was like a $2 value that flowed into our life, right? And then we had this letter show up that the dealership that we recently bought our car from had actually lied and padded their prices to clients. So the state of Maryland got a whiff of this, sued that dealership, and now all the clients who were cheated out of money are now being repaid whatever, the extra charges that they created and charged clients illegally. And that was like a pretty hefty amount. And we received that in the mail completely out of the blue, had no idea, right? And I know for a fact that all of this stuff will not be coming into our life if I have not developed an abundant mindset. Right? I know that money is constantly flowing into our life. That is something I affirm all the time. Money is constantly flowing into our life. Like, of course, we all want that to be the truth, right? But the reality is all of us believe, oh, the only time we get money is when I get paid, right? And then even when the pay comes in, we're like, oh, I wish this was more. Like, that is a lack mindset. There is no appreciation. There is no feeling good around money, right? Like, every interaction we have with money, if we feel down or bitter or angry or disappointed or frustrated, it doesn't feel good. So how will money show up in your life? Whereas an abundant mindset, no matter what bills or charges are showing up in your life, whatever money is going out, you appreciate that, as well as affirm and believe that money is also always flowing into your life. Okay. And like I said, an abundant mindset recognizes that money not only comes in through cash, like the typical way we're used to thinking, but also in non-monetary ways, right? Like I talked about the bag of chips. And recently, my husband, we buy this brand of non-dairy milk. And lately, the quality of it, the last two ones we've opened, hasn't been that great. So he just wrote to them and he said, hey, like, I don't know what's going on with your milk. It's kind of a weird texture all of a sudden. And they're like, oh, we'll just send you 4 bottles of milk in the mail for free, right? And that's free money that's now flowing into my life. So every piece of evidence that I find, I like put it away in like this little file folder that I have in my brain that is like, oh, another piece of evidence that money is everywhere. Another piece of evidence that money is everywhere. And money literally is everywhere around you guys, if you think about it. Like if you think about every single item in your home, money bought that, right? You gave somebody money to bring that thing into your house. And so that really does represent money. So think of everything in your house. Just look around and look at it through fresh new eyes and realize that everything that's sitting inside of your home, money bought that. So literally money is around you. Okay. So going back to this question of this person saying, if we live in an abundant mindset, are we ending up wasting money? I actually find it's the other way around. When you live with an abundant mindset, you have a deep respect for money and what money brings into your life and how much value money brings. Think of it as a healthy relationship you have with an actual person, right? If you're always worried about this person, oh my gosh, is this person going to walk out of my life? And every little thing this person says or does, it upsets you, right? What happens? Like it's not a healthy, fun relationship, right? But if you feel really secure in the relationship, know that, hey, even if that person exits and leaves my house, I know that they're going to come back. Like this person is so loving and supportive of me. The decisions you make become very different, right? You don't live from a worried, frantic place anymore. You live in a space of like, I feel really, really safe around this person. And so you become very present with this person. You don't take them for granted, right? Because you're investing so much in the relationship. You know that they're always going to be around. You know that they can be trusted. You know that they have got your back. You know that they support you. So you feel really safe being yourself around them. And then you don't really need to look for anyone else, right? Because this person is filling all your buckets. And so that's what an abundant mindset helps you do. You feel really secure with the money that you already have in your life. You feel deeply appreciative of the money that you have in your life, while also knowing that more and more and more is always on its way. So if you know for a fact that you don't ever have to worry about money, that money is always there to support you, then you're probably not making scared decisions around money. You trust yourself around money. So this idea of, am I wasting money, is really gone because you're trusting yourself around money. And here's another point that I want to make. We think about like a bad investment, right? Like let's say you're thinking about working with a coach and you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't know whether this money is going to come back to me. How will I prove that this worked, etc. With money, you can't be like, I gave you this, you need to give me that, right? But often that's the relationship we have with money. Because, when we lend somebody money, they repay us back. And that seems like a very transactional thing. But money is actually, how do I put this? I don't want to go into the woo-woo because money is actually, it's a very much a give and take. Just because you have given to charity, right? Let's use the example of charity. Let's say you give $100 to charity, right? You don't give with the expectation of like, where am I going to get this $100 back, right? You gave that money because you felt really good about helping that charity and helping that cause. So when you have an abundant mindset around money, all your transactions become that, whether it's to a charitable organization or whether it's like a personal purchase, right? It's this feeling of, I am buying something because it makes me feel really good, and I know that money will come back to me tenfold in some way, right? So when you are scared about investing, let's say in a home or in a car, and you're worried, like now you're like in this space of like, oh my gosh, should I be doing this with an abundant mindset? What if I buy this car and it's not a good investment? I want you to shift that thinking and say, I'm going to fully back my decision to get this dream car of mine, right? Get the car that you actually want, please, and not should yourself get yourself a really boring car because that's the rational decision to make. Like, don't I'm not talking about going to buy a Porsche if you can't afford it. But if there is a beautiful Acura that you've been dreaming about, and it's totally, you can afford it. I hate that word afford. Like you have more than enough financial resources to get that car. Like why would you go for like a Honda, right? But a lot of us do that. They're like, well, that's just a little too much money. Let me constrain myself. Let me make the sensible decision and get myself a car so that I can sit with the idea of money feeling safer in my savings account than inside of a car, right? An abundant mindset would say, you know what, this car feels really aligned. Like when I get in this car, it makes me feel really good. I have fun driving it. I feel really good about this investment. So you spend the money trusting your decision. Because when we're talking about wasting money, that essentially means like after you've made the purchase, you don't trust yourself. Like there's a part of you that's judging what you have done and judging it as wrong and right. With money, forgiveness is very important. If you ever have made a purchase that now you regret or you feel like you shouldn't, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself, let go of that shameful, embarrassed energy, and know that that money will make its way back to you. You may never know how, right? It's this idea that the tit for tat, looking at everything with black and white lens is what causes a lot of this issue. So, for example, right, we went to LA, my husband and I, on a couples trip, and it was a wildly abundant weekend. And what I mean by that is we stayed in like a luxurious Airbnb with other friends. We had a personal chef. We had Manny's Petty's massages at the house. We took taxis everywhere to like restaurants. And it was just an incredible, incredible weekend. Now, a person with a lack mindset would have said, that is wasteful. Like, can you guys really afford that? Because I'm sure that money could have been saved up for our kids' college, whatever, right? We can always shame ourselves into thinking there's better use for this money, right? But my husband and I approached it with what an incredible experience to add to our memories of a lifetime, right? That is what an abundant mindset is about. It's really about a shift in perspective. That's all it is. Because one person can look at it as this is really wasteful and indulgent, and who do they think they are? Like they're living beyond their means. And another person can look at it as, wow, look at them living their best life, really enjoying their money and making memories that will last a lifetime. So from one person's perspective, it's a waste. And another person's perspective, it's an incredible experience. It's in the eye of the beholder. And so if you want to develop an abundant mindset, one of the shifts that needs to happen is that I trust myself around money, right? Because then you're not going to be second guessing, did I waste my money? That whole wasting thing is a judgment call. If you trusted yourself with money, even to your egoic mind, if it feels like a waste, your higher self will know, no, that money will come back to me in some way, shape, or form, right? Because the money you spent actually served that other person, right? Whether you invested in a personal trainer and never really showed up for those lessons, let's say that's the example. Yes, from your personal perspective, you can be like, man, I really wasted that money. I didn't use any of, the classes and the money really ran out. Or the abundant mindset would say, you know what, next time I'm going to do better. Like I'm actually going to make use of the value. That's okay. I'll forgive myself. But then that money went towards that personal trainer and his or her family, and you supported their livelihood, right? That is an abundant mindset because money is always circling through all of us. It's like water. It's always flowing out of a tap into the drain, but anytime you open that tap, more of it comes out, right? It's not a waste because it's always flowing. So if you spend $10 here, it flows into someone else's pocket. They turn that $10 into $100, and that might flow back to you at some other point in the future. But our brain does not have, and our eyes doesn't have the visibility to look at the big picture, right? But an abundant mindset says money is always circulating through everybody's life. I'm open to receiving it. I trust my spending decisions. And the money that goes out of my life, I know it's going to come back to me tenfold, right? So you're not scared or worried about the decisions you're making around money because you've taken the time to learn about your money situation. You trust yourself. You know that more and more money is always flowing in, and money is meant to flow in and out. Like, feel secure with that idea, because most of us, anytime money flows out, we feel really, really scared, and we're like, that should not be happening. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then anytime money flows in, we're like clutching. We're like, oh, I hope this doesn't run out soon, or I hope this, stays with me, or whatever. But if we let go and trust that money is always circulating, it's meant to circulate. That's just the laws of nature. It's energy, right? It's like trying to hold on to energy. Energy never gets wasted, right? You've learned that in physics or chemistry. I think it's physics, where energy will only change form, right? Like light energy and sound energy. If you clap, that's energy out of your body and it just turned into sound energy, right? Like, you can never create more energy. You can never waste energy. Energy is just always being transformed and circulated. And money is the exact same way. Money is energy. A lot of coaches will talk to you that money is just energy. And so energy is always going from one place to the other. It's meant to flow, right? So I hope that helped that person who asked the question, and anybody else that's listening to this podcast, around why, if you have an abundant mindset, it does not mean that you're going to be wasting money. An abundant mindset helps you feel really secure around money, helps you have secure thoughts, secure feelings. And therefore, because you create an internal world that feels really safe around money, then your external reality starts to reflect that. Let me know what you think about this episode. Email me at visa@visalakshi.com. And if you haven't yet, please, please, please leave a review for my podcast. I will be forever grateful. I love you guys so much. And if you have any other questions around money, please email me, and I would love to cover them on the next or the future podcast episode. All right. Love you guys. Bye.